Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the Clinical Leadership Podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Alex Earl, and I wanted to share with you today just a little bit as to a very important type of visit that you're not currently using in your office. So I know that there's going to be a lot of valuable content shared in the coming days, weeks, and months, and we're going to be describing this visit in the future. So I wanted to go ahead and set time aside today to just define it and explain the purpose behind it. But before I go any further, I want to share with you today our two sponsors of today's episode. The first sponsor is Midwest Rehabilitation Institute. We have a lot of CEU events coming down the pike for 2024, including a big Midwest Pain Summit that is coming to Chicago in July. More information is coming down the pike as well for that event. If you're interested in attending, students are welcome. Please email me, admin@mwri.co, and let me know that you're interested in coming to that event. We are offering student rates for that event as well. So be on the lookout for more details for the Midwest Pain Summit this July. I believe it's the last weekend in July in Chicago. More info is coming out soon. So keep an eye out on your inbox for that. Number two, and we're really excited for this partnership. We're partnering with Jane App. And before we get into today's episode, I'd like to introduce you to our sponsor, Jane, which is a clinic management software and EMR with a human touch. Whether you're switching your software or going paperless for the first time, the Jane team knows that the onboarding process can feel a little overwhelming. That's why with Jane, you don't just get a software, you get a whole team. Included in every Jane subscription is their award-winning customer service, available by phone, email, and chat whenever you need it, even Saturdays. You can even book a free account setup consultation to review your account and ensure you feel confident about going live. And if you'd like some extra advice along the way, you can tap into a lovely community of practitioners, clinic owners, and front desk staff through Jane's community Facebook group. If you're interested in making the switch to Jane, head to jane.app/switch to book a one-on-one demo with a member of their amazing support team. And don't forget to mention my code, MWRI, at the time of signup for a 1-month grace period in your new Jane account. We're really excited to be partnering with them for the year. You will see them at the Pain Summit as well. And we are really excited for more big things to come. Now, having said that, buckle up, everybody. Here we go with more info on the discovery visit. Let's go. Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the Clinical Leadership Podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Alex Earl. And on today's podcast, we're going over the number one appointment in your office that you're not utilizing. So what I mean by that is a lot of times people call up to book a new appointment, or the other option would be a follow-up appointment. And really, that's it. And I think that there's a lot of low-hanging fruit that is currently being missed by offices all around the country simply because they don't have a onboarding call or an onboarding appointment in their functional rehab and chiropractic offices. So as I mentioned, I am a huge advocate of what we refer to as a discovery visit. And there's 3 reasons that we're going to discuss today as to why I believe you should implement a discovery or an introductory, whatever you want to call it, a discovery visit to your functional rehab clinic. When we implemented this back in about 2017 is when I learned about the discovery visit from my own business coach. it really changed the way that patients perceived the new patient evaluation, and then therefore the way they perceived the plan of care and the treatment that they received. So it's really interesting how a lot of the times, and I see this, right? Like, here's a bit of a rant. I see this a lot on chiropractic forums. I see this on Facebook pages, and I hear about it in seminars. I hear the griping, the complaining about patients dropping off. I hear the griping, the complaining about patients who don't value what we do. And I think to myself, well, I don't have that problem. I don't have that problem. I get ahead of all of the problems in business by implementing this discovery visit. Or in the case of the last 2 years, I've been doing discovery calls where I get on the phone with a prospect and I talk to them for 15 or 20 minutes before they ever step foot in my clinic in Illinois. It's categorically changed the way that onboarding patients perceive the way that this business operates. And let me just paint a picture. From April of 2015 until right around December of 2017, I was guilty of this. Someone would call up and would want to be seen. I found you on the insurance website, or I know so-and-so who has seen you and I'd like to book an appointment. I would say, sure. I'd pull up my schedule, pull up my actual schedule was in a planner, hard copy planner originally. And I would just look at the times available. I would schedule them. I would say over the phone, here's where the clinic is, here's what to wear, and I'll see you at 1:30. And a lot of times, I'm a little embarrassed to admit, a lot of times they would not show up. And that would drive me nuts. Like, why aren't they showing up? They called me. And I would just chalk it up to, what you hear online. Well, they just don't value me. And then I learned that's because they were also calling 5, 6 other places. Not to be seen just the quickest, but actually because they had other more pressing needs that I was not figuring out. I was just simply addressing them at their most superficial need. I would like to book an appointment, so therefore I would give people the earliest appointment I had. And that it turns out that's actually not what people want. They say that that's what they want, but it turns out it's not what they want. So we have implemented what we call a discovery visit to slow the relationship down. And one of my favorite aspects is addressing human behavior simply by putting one obstacle in front of a prospect tends to, and what I believe here is the better you are at what you do, the more people are willing to go through a barrier, or they're more willing to jump through one hurdle in order to do business with you. Because if you're accessible to everyone, you're accessible to no one, right? I firmly believe that. So by putting up a little bit of a barrier, like, hold on a second here, we actually put the relationship on pause before it ever even begins. It's not a power dynamic. It's not a power struggle. It's simply to make sure that we discover what their problem is, which is why we call it a discovery visit. And also they discover if we are the right solution to their problem. And there are plenty of times where we are not the solution to someone's problem, in which case I view it as a responsibility to that person to get them in the office of the most appropriate provider. I say that to them on the phone. A good example of this is there's a Carrick trained, board certified chiropractic neurologist, Dr. Mike. Here's a shout out to Dr. Mike, runs Neuro Wellness Institute. They get a lot of referrals from us for higher level neurologic and the complex concussions. Now, I work in sports medicine, but I know my lane when it comes to concussion. If someone's really got their bell rung and there are significant neurologic signs that I've learned I'm not well tuned in, I'm not an expert in, I view it as my responsibility as a provider to get that patient in to see Dr. Mike at Neuro Wellness. That's just, I can't argue that enough. I do not take everyone on as a result. So therefore, the people that, and the patients that have a problem that I know I can solve, I'm that much more confident I can help them because I've said no to people that I couldn't. And that confidence is heard over the phone. That confidence is felt in the exam room when we're actually going through the discovery visit. So the discovery visit, if I could deduce it down to its most simplistic terms, It is a working interview between a provider and a prospect. Haven't agreed to come in as a paying customer or a patient yet. They're simply trying to make a decision on their health from the prospect's perspective. And the provider is simply trying to make sure that this is something that I can solve. And if it's not, then you have to make an appropriate referral or recommendation for something else. So it is a bilateral. These are not mutually exclusive. This is not just for my benefit, and it's not just for the prospect's benefit. It is mutually beneficial. And I think that's an important point to make. This is not something that I'm doing to them, and this is not something that they're doing to me. This is the most respectful way to onboard a new prospect in the functional rehab sector. So that's kind of bullet point number one. And I'll give it to you again. This, in essence, it pre-qualifies the patient, pre-qualifies the provider. A lot of times in sales and software stuff, they have that pre-qualification call just to make sure that we're a right fit for one another. It's a brilliant sentence. I've heard it a million times now. Hey, before we go any further, let's just make sure we're a good fit for one another. Once you hear it, you can't unhear it, right? Now, anyone that is going on a sales call is going to hear it, and they're going to know, oh, we're in the qualifying a lead stage of the sales process. We do the same thing by offering the discovery. And believe it or not, a lot of people are actually reassured that we offer something for free. There's no charge for the discovery. It's where you can come into our office. If we're talking about the in-person discovery visit, you come into the office, you see where you park, you see where you walk yourself into our clinic, you meet our staff, you can smell the clinic, you can see the wall art, you can look around the rehab space and see if this is the place that you want to work with, right? If I called up a clinic and knowing that soccer is in my background, and I say, hey, I got a bit of a knee issue, got a medial meniscus issue. Could I just come around? Could I just see your place? See if this is the place for me. And I show up and there's, jujitsu, or there's golf all over the walls. There's a golf simulator. There's a putting green. I'm actually thinking to myself, they might understand sport, but they don't understand me. They understand golf. They don't understand me because I'm in a different sport entirely. So sometimes it's helpful for the discovery visit for the patient to actually just visualize that, oh, wow, this is not like your high volume, rack 'em and crack 'em chiropractor that I used to see when I was back in high school. I thought all chiropractors practiced the same. Well, I could say that on the phone, but that doesn't carry the same weight as if someone were to walk into our clinic and actually see with their own eyes that we're different, right? So that's number one. We want to pre-qualify by making sure we're both a good fit for one another. Number two, this is one of my favorites, is that I start the sales conversation right there on either the discovery call or the discovery visit. And what I get to do is I get to set the expectations. Here's what it's going to look like when you come on as either a new patient or you don't. Here's what it looks like throughout our plan of care. Here's what it looks like when you're done with your plan of care. I get to map out the patient journey for them before they're ever a patient, instead of this segmental process where patients have to be convinced every step of the way. I don't do that. I map it out for them up front and tell them this is what most journeys, not all, but most journeys, most patient journeys look like in our clinic. So we have a new exam, report of findings, treatment plan, other at the end. Here are your options at the end. Wellness, maintenance, performance sessions. You could buy dry needling packages. You could, whatever. We could talk about that as we go. Shockwave packages. We don't have a shockwave, but there are clinics that offer shockwave packages, massage packages, all sorts of things, right? So that's a great point to make for the discovery visit, is you're mapping out the journey and setting the expectations for what it's like to be a patient here, instead of them trying to figure it out in their head as they go. Just give it to them up front. The third thing is, and I kind of mentioned this earlier on, the third thing is the genius behind offering a discovery visit is you get to answer all of the future objections right then and there. Right then and there. Someone comes in, they say, hi, I'd like to book a new patient appointment. well, hold on a second here. Before I offer you our next available new patient exam, why don't we just see if we're a good fit for one another? And also, why don't we just see if what you're dealing with is something that I know how to solve? All right. And then we talk about what it is they're dealing with. And then I say, hey, by the way, let me just, if it's right with you, let me just explain the two entry points that people have when they enter our practice. The first is they're not sure yet about what their options are, and they want to come to the office and they want to check us out and they want to meet with us in person to talk a little bit more in depth about what they're going through. We call that a discovery visit. Okay. The second option is you're tired of living with this. You've seen my ads, you've seen my website, you've read my things, you've been to my workshops, you've seen all the things I've written, seen all of the things I've done. You're like, great, this is the guy. This is the guy that I want to help solve my knee problem so I can get back to playing soccer. Let's skip the discovery visit and let's jump into the new patient eval. Which one today would you think most fits where you're at right now? You want a discovery visit or do you want a new patient eval? That's how I ask them. And I'll say probably 5 to 6 out of 10 choose the new patient eval, and 4 to 5 out of 10 will choose the discovery. So it's not an uncommon thing, especially when you're charging the prices that we charge. So the discovery visit is free, and we encourage people that are hesitant to pay our higher rates. We encourage them to first start with a discovery. All right. So the reason that it removes future objections is because I get to infuse different objections along the way, such as when you arrive for your discovery, we'll walk you through everything that you will need for your new patient eval. That includes your driver's license. Don't worry about your insurance card. We don't need your insurance card unless you have, and I say the one insurance plan that we're in network with. But I just tell them, you don't need to bring your insurance card because we don't take it. You don't need to bring it, right? Here's what we're going to do. Don't wear jeans because we're going to go through this, this, and this. And I start to lay out what it's like as a patient here. The other thing it does is I get to ask some pretty direct questions on the discovery visit phone call or the discovery visit in person. I get to ask very direct questions that set the expectation of the type of person that succeeds well in our clinic. They do these certain traits. Are you that type of person? Right? So we don't have people dropping off because they don't value what we do, because I ask those questions in the discovery visit. So those are the 3 points that I wanted to share with you today as to why I believe you should add a discovery visit to your functional rehab and chiropractic clinic. If you found this valuable, I really do want you to consider taking a screenshot of it and sharing with sharing on your socials. So screenshot, tag me in it. I am at Dr. Alex Earl DC on Instagram. And you can also tag Midwest Rehab in the post as well, which is at Midwest Rehab. And do me a favor, share this with a friend. If you are in business, sometimes it can be quite lonely. So do me a favor, share this with a friend or 2 or 3 that you are already talking, business and wondering on how to improve and take your business to the next level. Share this with them and help them take their business to the next level. If you need me for any reason whatsoever, you can always email me. I'm admin@mwri.co. And until next time, I appreciate you guys so much. It means the absolute world to me that you guys would listen to this episode, and I give you permission to be successful.